Senator Lyon. Senator Singh.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I rise tonight to speak about the Australian Human Rights Commission's Forgotten Children report, the National Inquiry into Children in Immigration Detention 2014. It's a startling and it's a heartbreaking insight into the lives of children in Australia's immigration detention. And I think there's no more powerful way to confront one's beliefs about what it means to be a refugee than to read the direct testimony in some of this report from some of those who have lived it. We cannot shun the plight of refugees and asylum seekers, and we cannot hide from our responsibility to ensure that people are able to live out their fundamental rights to build a home and a life in safety and security, free from persecution. But this report demonstrates we are failing our responsibility to the most vulnerable. It raises a number of difficult questions, both for the Labor Party and for the government. It shows how systems need to be improved. It shows that kids need to be taken out of detention as soon as practicable. It highlights human rights breaches and raises a number of very serious issues in its recommendations that Labor will consider. So the findings within this report, I think, must motivate all of us to work better for the outcomes of children in detention. And it's important we understand the plight of those children. We understand them as deeply as we possibly can to make sure nothing like this happens again. This report contains the disturbing truth that 1/3 or more than 1/3 of children in immigration detention face profound psychological trauma as a result of the conditions in which they are being held. The level of psychological injury that these children experience is comparable to that of a mentally ill person being treated as a hospital outpatient. A civilised government placing children in detention is a deeply distressing situation, near guaranteed to produce mental illness in at least 1/3 of those detained. That is what this report reveals. These children are often from families who have fled war or political religious persecution, children who have sought to escape torture or other mistreatment by making the dangerous and long journey to our supposedly safe haven, our country. They or their parents have chosen to do all they could to get to Australia in order to find a haven where they could grow up and live a life free from abuse, enjoy a good life where they will be protected and cared for. Instead, as demonstrated in this Australian Human Rights Commission report, this is effectively a prison system. It is a prison system that replicates the very trauma and mistreatment which children have risked so much to escape. Their treatment by Australia, an authority that they had trusted for assistance and put their faith in, tears wider the wounds that they have already experienced. But sadly, Mr Acting Deputy President, today our Prime Minister attacked the report and the Human Rights Commission, attacking the truth to distract from this government's own responsibility. He blames the previous Labor government in an attempt to sweep aside damning findings and whitewash the reality. In doing so, he has played politics with the reality and the plight of these children. No government is perfect when it comes to this very difficult issue. But I would like to acknowledge at least that when Labor was in government under Minister for Immigration Tony Burke, we did remove all unaccompanied minors from immigration detention. While it is a difficult issue, playing politics with it is just not the solution for a civilised government. Instead, one would think this government would have said, we will look at this report. We will look at the recommendations in this report, into the evidence produced in this report, the testimonies in this report, and we will make an understanding of that, make an assumption of that and give a response to that. That would be a fairly rational way that this government could have dealt with the launch of this report today. At least to say that we will understand more deeply the findings in this report, so that something like this that is evidenced in this report doesn't happen again. We didn't hear that, though, from the Prime Minister. And we didn't hear that from Senator Erica Betts today during our own question time. Children have committed no crime that are here in these detention centres. Yet children will suffer mistreatment and damage to their emotional lives and physical well-being if they remain in detention, as this report shows, for as long as they have been. The Liberal government must acknowledge that the mental and physical health of innocent children has been compromised by current policies. The government must work to ensure this does not happen in the future. By ignoring the findings in this report, the Liberal government dismisses the protection which it is obliged to give to these children. Australia's responsibility is not merely to ensure that people are safe from their violence of persecution, but that they are able to participate in a community that recognises and values them as people with unique and compelling contributions to make, so that they can rebuild their lives. Our country owes much to the diversity of its people. Australia's multicultural society would be so much poorer, and I'm sure we all agree with that, without the art, the faith, the language, the food, the opinion and culture of those who have come from every part of the globe. This report shows that we do need to consider and pursue an independent oversight of Australia's government conduct in our detention facilities, wherever they may be, onshore or offshore. The Immigration Ombudsman could play a role in that, but I have a feeling that this government abolished that role. I leave this chamber with a simple quote from this Forgotten Children report: Australia is better than this.